How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the first box-to-box of the 23-24 season. The season is nearly upon us, but before the season gets going, it's the curtain raiser, it's the Community Shield, it's Arsenal versus Manchester City. We got into it by finishing second. Obviously, City clean sweep of the trophies last season, aside from Carabao Cup. But that sees us in the Community Shield against Man City. And for me, it's a great start to the season to see the two clubs that were at the top of the Premier League for the majority of last season battling it out. For the first piece of, I'll call it silverware, the Community Shield, silverware, not a trophy, people, it's silverware. And it's Pep versus Mikel again. And I think for us Arsenal fans, it'll be a welcome game to see where we're at against Man City. If you look at last season, all three fixtures pretty much dominated by Manchester City. And we have hopes that we can surpass them this season and win the league. But let's see how it goes this Sunday. And it is Man City. And who else other than Big Steve in the building? What are you saying, Steve?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Season's starting. Yeah, it's about time. Pre-season for me is a bad time. You know what I mean? I've got to fix things in the house. I've got to go shopping and stuff. And yeah,
this one mustn't have been that bad because as well as fixing things, I hear that you got a Champions League trophy in your own cabinet now.
Yeah, bought one Champions League for my own cabinet. No, it's good. And we finished a bit later than everybody else as well. You know what I mean? We had the FA Cup final and the Champions League final.
Mid-June nearly, yeah.
That's what I mean. So then we're straight into pre-season. Been doing a bit for Man City on their channel, so I've been in touch with football, but there's nothing better than getting to the games and getting on the terraces for me.
Yeah, back at it again, and we're more or less here.
Yep.
Me and Steve are going to the game together this Sunday.
Yep.
Club Wembley, we're in the neutral seats. We can't wear club colours, but for me, the Community Shield isn't intense at all, so I don't mind not wearing the club colours. I don't mind tagging along with Steve, who's offered me the ticket for Sunday. Hopefully, it's a competitive game. That's all I ask for. I don't want to see Steve celebrating 1, 2, 3s and 4 goals on Sunday. But we are there. So if you're going to the game, make sure you link up with us after the game. We're also doing fan cams on AFTV as well. If Steve gets some time, he can do one too. But Steve, let's talk about the transfer window first, because I think that's the best place to start. We haven't spoken on camera for a little while. Kovacic in, Gvardiol recently in, Mahrez gone, Gundogan gone. How are you feeling about this summer and the improvements or maybe the lack of improvements that you've made?
To be honest, when you win a treble,
it's hard.
There's not a lot to improve on.
Yeah.
You pretty much got a great team. You know, we've competed on all fronts. We've won 3 trophies. But when you lose players like Ilkay Gundogan and Riyad Mahrez, and the fans panic a little bit. You look at the numbers of Gundogan, you look at the numbers of Mahrez, you're thinking, who's going to provide them numbers? Yeah. Kovacic is not going to score them goals that Gundogan did. He's not going to get the assist Gundogan did, but I don't think he's there to do that. Mm-hmm. I think Phil Foden's going to come into midfield. I think Phil can hit the numbers Gundogan got. I do think that. Gvardiol, centre-back-wise, is a beast.
Quality.
21 years old.
Quality. Learning
off the best. Going to be in the defence with Diaz, Ake, Akanji, Stones. So the back looks solid.
Solid.
Just the width for me. You know what I mean? We've got Bernardo Silva can play out there, but he's not really a natural wide man. I think we're going to dip our toe in the market again. I think before the end of August, we will get a wide man. And then I think City's good enough to go. You know, you look at the squad, the midfield, Foden, Kovacic, Rodri, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Grealish. You've got Haaland, Alvarez, Ake, Stones, Gvardiol, you know, Diaz, Rico Lewis, Cole Palmer. We've got a good squad, you know what I mean? There's no need to panic. And when you get to the level we're at the minute, you only need 1 or 2 signings a season. You don't need a freshen up.
Yeah.
We don't have to. It's not like we fell short and we think, right, we fell short because of this. Let's go and buy this. We won everything there was to win by the Carabao Cup. So we're basically thinking, okay, we're all right.
Yeah.
Let's just not let the standards drop.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest worry for City fans is a bit of a hangover where players might think, we've won it now.
We've done it all.
Drop it a little, 5-10%. But I think that's down to the manager to make sure that don't happen. I think it's down to Pep Guardiola to keep bringing the young, fresh players in, bringing the experience in, like Kovacic, who can come in and say, look, you know, we need to lift it, or, you know, we're going to change the captain soon. We've not decided on that. Could be Diaz, could be Walker, could be De Bruyne, but I think we're all right. You know what I mean? I love transfers more than anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're a kid and you get up and you see who you're signing. But it almost becomes a bit boring when you become good.
Yeah.
When you're crap, you're signing players for fun because you're trying to get it right. But when you become good, it's literally one or two. Last season, we signed Erling Haaland. He came in.
Big one.
Big pressure. Certain pundits say he won't get 15 goals. He scored 52. Won the treble in his first season. You know, exciting times. But I think we're all right. I think we're all right. I mean, you guys are on the opposite scale. You fell short. And you went out, and to me, it looks like you've got the people you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. You touched on, you didn't fall short last year. You won it all, aside from the Carabao Cup. So there isn't, necessarily much to do aside from the risk that the players have now won it all, the motivation. But I look at Pep's career as a manager, and there isn't that many seasons you can say that he didn't have a competitive team ready to fight for major honours.
Yeah.
I think maybe City's first year in charge, that was his bedding in period and acclimatising to the league. But aside from that, across Barca, Munich and now City, I think it's only been 1 or 2 years that he hasn't had a team, or he hasn't created a team that's been competitive. So as much as I hope that there's a bit of that in the Man City squad, we've won it all, like what more is there to achieve that will allow maybe Arsenal that light at the end of the tunnel to go for. I do think that Pep will keep them on their toes. He always does, and he's proven that. But Arsenal, we fell short. We had, problems in specific areas towards the end of last season. Saliba's injury, Tomiyasu's injury in that Sporting game. In midfield, I think we needed an extra body. And we've gone out and we broke the British world record transfer fee for Declan Rice. We also brought in Havertz for a substantial fee, 65 million. And Timber as well, who's come in and helped us defensively, because I look at our defence and I think we needed that. We were just talking over lunch, and you spoke about how Stones can play right back, Gvardiol's good on the ball, and he could potentially invert. And then you've got Cancelo who can invert. You've got so many options to invert defensively that I look at it and think Arsenal needed that. And with Timber and Zinchenko now, I see that from both sides. I see an inverted right back, I see an inverted left back, which gives you options. They don't necessarily need to invert together, but it gives you options. 1 week it might be, Timber's inverting, then it might be Zinchenko, or in the same game, you might get both inverting at different points. So I think Arsenal have had a solid transfer window with Rice and Timber. It's the Havertz one for me that a lot rests on that. A lot rests on that for Mikel, because it was a big fee. It was out of nowhere.
It's a lot of money, man.
What do you make of it outside looking in? I mean, you've been a big advocate for Mikel even 2 years ago when fans like myself could not see the vision. But this summer now, Steve, after challenging last year, now breaking our own record transfer fee and the British, the pressure's on now.
Yeah, the pressure's on him. Massive. Because I think Arsenal have got everything in place to win the league, bar the mentality. And what I mean by that is, when I was saying last season, the business end of the season is when it gets decided, people were just like, online were just saying like, you don't know what he's talking about, we've won 20 odd games already, we've done this, we've done that, we've worked it out, we're on the form. But them last 10 games is when teams are fighting for relegation, they're fighting for Europe, they're fighting for contracts, they're fighting for everything. And it's different. You can play a Brighton in August and roll them 4 or 5. That same Brighton team comes in at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's different. And I knew that was coming because I've been there with Liverpool, and the pressure cranks up. And even as fans, when you go every week, you don't enjoy it at the end of the season. It's not enjoyable. It's literally just relief. You win, you're relief. You draw, you're relief. It's one game at a time. But the Havertz signing was a bit strange because I've looked at him at Chelsea. He's not really ripped up any trees. He scored the winning goal in the Champions League final against us. But other than that, week in, week out, no one's talking about Havertz. Match of the day ain't talking about him. Pundits ain't raving about him. So for them to go in and get him and pay 65, whatever it was for him, it's a bit strange. But he might have a plan for him. I don't know. He might see something in him that we can't. But the signing of Declan Rice and the signing of Timber, they, I think, take Arsenal up a level. Timber, Young, like you say, last season when you're going into the business end of the season and you've got Rob Holding and Kiwi or having to fill in, it's never going to happen. And then now you got Timber there. He can maybe rotate that back line a little bit better, save people, not play as many. And then Declan, for me, for that kind of money, he's got to give you something different, because if he comes in now and you're exactly the same as last season, what's the point? Because you had Thomas Partey in there already. You had Granit Xhaka in there already.
Yeah.
And you was okay in midfield, in my opinion. I don't think midfield was the problem.
We were just light, but you are right.
That's
Xhaka
what I mean.
performed well,
But when you spend 100 million, that is to make you, to give you something different.
Level up, yeah.
You know, we spent 100 million on Jack Grealish. They said, oh, he didn't have a great season but Pep changed him as a player. You're not the Jack Grealish at Aston Villa where you can get the ball, go left, right, shoot and all that. We don't want you to do that. You stay on the left, you hug that touchline, you get the ball, you don't lose it, you come inside, you create the play. You don't shoot from 30 yards. You don't want that, Pep.
Yeah.
You've got to do what Pep says. So it's all right, people going, well, he didn't hit the numbers. It wasn't about the numbers. It was about playing in the system.
And Grealish mentioned that quite often.
Yeah. He said to me personally when I spoke to him that it's totally different. You know, he said, if I get the ball, jink past the defender and shoot, if I don't score, I'm going mad at me. He'll take me off. Thierry Henry said that. He scored. He didn't want him to shoot or something. He scored. He got took off. So it's very different playing for Pep. But I think Declan Rice is a great signing. I think he's got a lot of pressure on him as well. He's going to come into the Arsenal team and people are going to want to see him doing his business. I spoke to a West Ham fan and he said to me, he's very much a safe player, Declan, side to side and backwards. At Arsenal, with the players around him, you'd like to see him drive.
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham for England, for example, this season, I watched him. And he was driving England forward and he was creating. And that's what I see Rice. I'm not being funny. You can get a player for much less than 100 million that can play it safe, side to side, one touch back.
Of course.
Jorginho can do that. But Declan Rice has got to take Arsenal to the next level. He's got to improve his own game. He's played West Ham for so long, doing the simple things. You're not an elite club now.
Yeah.
No disrespect to West Ham. Arsenal ain't West Ham.
Yeah.
You're in a Champions League and you're fighting high level. You've got to put them performances in. You can't go missing. You know what I mean? And time will tell.
This is a personal question for me, but I'm sure a lot of Arsenal fans want to hear your opinion on it. But you mentioned Grealish, 100 million, and then a year that he gets to bed in, get used to Pep's style of play and whatnot. But Man City could afford that year because you'd still remain competitive. You still went on to win major honours. At Arsenal, I don't think the fans have a year in them to wait to continue being competitive, and that's where the difference lies for me. I don't think we've got the time to wait like Man City did with Grealish to show up. I think Declan Rice pretty much by December, maybe even November, December, I need to be seeing him integral in everything.
The fan bases are totally different. The Arsenal fan base are very, very much, they're very excitable, and they can also be very crazy if things ain't going the right way.
Yeah.
Last season, we've seen all sides of it. I'll be honest, last season when you started winning, I could see a momentum building in the Arsenal fan base, and I was like, we need to stop this, yeah?
I think everyone saw it.
Because I thought, we need to stop this because this fan base could probably get these guys over the line here.
Yeah.
So, personally, us and the City content creators was like, right, this is how we're going to play it. We all talked, and this is how we played it.
Is this how the Sharks came about?
This is how the Sharks came about. So when we did the Emirates one and the Sharks, after that we said, right, let's push the Shark narrative. Get in Robbie's DMs, get in Turkish DMs, get the Shark.
Says you.
Yeah, let's keep going with it because I know what it's like when you're in the title race. It's so nervous, yeah? People are sending you little things. People used to send me Liverpool things and that, knock you off your stride. Yeah. So that's what we were trying to do. And but my words is to the Arsenal fans is, look how far you've come. Look at the season you've just had. You don't want to dismantle all that if everything doesn't go to plan this season, because you can you could break all that down and you could go back to square 100%. One. It could set you back 5 years. Yeah. Relax. If Declan Rice doesn't hit the ground running, relax. He's not a bad player. It just takes people time. There might be something that Arteta has to tweak somewhere else to get the best out of him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jack Grealish, for example, this first season didn't play well. He had Cancelo up his arse. Every time he got the ball, Cancelo was in his space.
Yeah.
He'd give Jack Grealish the ball within 2 yards. Jack Grealish then has got a man on him. He didn't know what to do. He had to play it safe. Take Cancelo out of the equation. Nathan Ake gives Jack Grealish the ball now with 20 yards of space. Jack Grealish can go left, he can go right, he can come across the middle, and look at him.
Better formula.
Because he had to be took out of the equation to get the best out of Jack.
Yeah.
Arteta might start with Declan in the middle on his own. That might not work. He might need a double pivot. He might need Partey with him. He might need to play Odegaard there. And all I'm saying is, if you can see it starting to work, go with it. Don't just throw the toys out the pram if it don't work and you get beat and he had a bad game, because if you do that, it does nobody any good.
Yeah.
We've got Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips came in last season. In his opinion, he's had a bad season. But the Man City fans have laid off him. And I know that's easy to say when you win things. I get that. But the way we are now with our mindset is, what's the point in getting on his back? It's not going to do anyone any good. You're just getting aggy with everyone and you're causing murders, and people who like him are going to fall out. So we're just trying to keep it positive at all times. And I'm just saying to the Arsenal fans, look, from where you was 2 or 3 years ago and where you could see the club going to where you are now is massive. So you're on the right road. Don't get gassed up. Don't get any more T-shirts printed at Christmas, And stop moonwalking outside when you sign Declan Rice. That's all I'm saying. But listen, I get it, man. People are excited, but I think Declan Rice, he's got a lot of pressure on him, and I think, I don't think he will. I don't know with him. I look at him sometimes. I think, is he just going to play it safe? If he goes in every game and plays it safe, I don't think Arsenal fans will take that.
Not good enough. Yeah.
They want to see him gripping the game.
Yeah.
Pre-season, Man United.
Yeah.
People coming out of the ground, Man United got physical with us. We could have done with Xhaka. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
If I'm an Arsenal fan, I don't want to hear that.
100%.
I want to hear why Declan Rice ain't rattled a few cages in there, grabbed a couple by the scruff of the neck, got into people's faces and gone, or got Partey with him or whoever and said, right, we're having it. You know what I mean? Because if you're getting kicked around, there's some teams in this league that can't beat Arsenal by playing football. So they're going to try and beat you the other way.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want is pretty football, but when it gets a bit physical, you get beat.
Which is something we saw
you don't want that.
For many years under Wenger as well. Everyone on Sky, Gary Neville always used to say there's a soft centre to Arsenal. That was back then. But you're right. You need to eliminate that, because teams tried to kick Man City off the park too, but realised that wouldn't work. Whereas if they try and kick us off the park and it does work, then that's the formula for sides moving forward. So Arsenal have to, iron that out pretty much going into the season, which I think won't be an issue, because we are not the team we was 5 years ago. But this Sunday, Steve, what do you make of the Community Shield? I'm not going to ask you, do you count it as a trophy? Because I'm sure you agree with me that is more a curtain raiser, season opener than anything else. But how important is Sunday for you?
We've lost the last two. Last season, King Power Stadium, I came out the ground, we've been beat off Liverpool. Liverpool fans were telling me in the hotel that night how good Darwin Núñez was and how Haaland had missed a sitter. And then fast forward it 12 months, Liverpool's in the Europa League, Haaland's got 52 goals and we've won the treble.
Yeah.
So you can't judge anything off a Community Shield.
I agree.
It's more about where you are physically and are you ready for Forest and are we ready for Burnley?
Yeah.
So I'm just looking forward to a good game of football that's not got the nerves attached to it.
Yeah.
We can go out there, we can look at Kovacic, we can look at Declan, we can look at Timber, we can see little things that get you going for the season. And like you said, it's a curtain raiser. I mean, we got beat off Leicester there one year. You don't want to lose, you know what I mean? We're on a winning streak at the minute. It'd be great to win it, but it's more about no injuries. Let's see where we are, ready for Burnley on the Friday night, hit the Premier League running and try and I'm hoping Man City start fast this season. We always start a bit bumpy, so I'm hoping we're up to speed.
You've got a couple of examples there why you don't think the Community Shield is everything. I've got one as well. When we beat Liverpool after the FA Cup win in 2020, we went on to finish 8th. So, the Community Shield doesn't mean much more than, the starter of the season, the introduction back to English football for fans and whatnot. But bearing in mind, it's the two teams that competed last season. I know the way you're looking at it from Man City's perspective. From my perspective, I just want to see us be competitive. I don't want another, game similar to last season, both season fixtures.
One thing you can't do as well, you can't compare this season to last, because the way you started last season for me was a freak. I don't think you're going to start like that this year.
Nor do I.
So the last thing you want is people going, we fell off. Look how we started last year.
Yeah.
Don't work like that. Look at how Manchester City's won the league the last 5 out of 6 times, and we've started different every time. So you can't gauge it.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest last season, middle of the season, 1-1. I come out of that ground and I was convinced in my head, I'd never put it publicly, that we didn't have what it takes to win the league. I thought you'd done it.
Yeah.
Before the game, I'd watched you score the last-minute winner at Villa. Right? So I knew City's done that. And then you know that. When you're in a season and shit like that happens, you think to yourself, it's our season. And I thought, ooh, they just done that at Villa. We just drew to Forest. This reminds me of City.
Yeah.
And then Pep had to make a decision mid-season. He changed it round. The charges came out. Us as fans got behind the team, galvanised the thing, and we went on a mission then. It was like the army was at the gates then, and we were coming through no matter what happened.
Yeah.
We were waiting.
He used it as motivation.
Of course. But Arsenal lost it themselves. You can't drop 12 points or whatever it was towards the end of the season in them games because... And then, do you know when some Arsenal fans were saying to me, we've only got one game. You've got every game. Nah, when you're in a winning season, you want games.
Yeah.
Gail Clichy did an interview with me and he said to me, the worst thing can happen is one game a week. He said, because you lose on the Saturday, you've got a full week to think about it. You can overtrain, you can undertrain, you can overthink, you can underthink. You go back out on the Saturday, you lose again. You've got another week. Next minute, you've spent 2 weeks in that losing bubble.
Yeah.
You lose on the Saturday, you play somebody in the Champions League on the Wednesday, you get a big win under the lights, everyone's ballooning, bang, confidence is up, you've had a good game, you go again. So it's rhythm, momentum, and that's what it is. But Arsenal have also got that added pressure of that this season. They've got the Champions League. The Champions League ain't the Europa League.
No.
You can think you're playing a small side in the Champions League, you're getting rolled over because, they're in there for a reason. Some of the Europa League games, you're playing in Kazakhstan or wherever you're playing, you think, I can change 8-9 players.
Light work, yeah.
Champions League away game, you can't do that because all of a sudden you've got a freak result and you might not qualify. So
yeah, and that is the conundrum this season. We've got, we've always had, not always. There's a year we wasn't in Europe a couple of years ago, but we've had multiple seasons in multiple trophies, but this is the big one now. Tuesday, Wednesday, Champions League nights, weekends, Premier League football, then the Carabao and FA Cup coming at some point. So squad depth is key, and I think we're in a good place. I'd like another body in attack, especially with this Jesus injury, Steve. I don't want to rely heavily upon Eddie Nketiah or Trossard. As much as I like Trossard, I don't think it's right to rely upon him up top. I think he's more an option, rotational, back up to Martinelli, can also fit in up top. But with the Jesus injury and it being the same knee, that's where my concerns lie. Now, I'm not going to overthink that situation. He's back in a few weeks, apparently, and when he does come back, I just hope it's the end of it. But with knee issues, having had knee issues myself and recently having my second op in 4 years, I know that every time you do have an operation, the knee never comes back to 100%. It'll always whittle away to 96%, 92%, and so on. So best wishes for Jesus. But this Sunday, Steve, I want to ask you, key man for not only this Sunday, let's say this Sunday and the season in general, if there's a key man for Arsenal who you're most maybe worried about, leading us to a potential Premier League trophy, who would it be? Would it be the common name last season that was Saka, sometimes Odegaard and Martinelli? Would it be Declan Rice, the new £100 million man? Or would it be one of the defenders who,
I think Odegaard's key for me.
Odegaard.
Because Saka's a young lad, he's full of energy. Martinelli's the same. They did drop off in certain games. I seen Martinelli towards the end of the season didn't quite look the same. Saka, sometimes, was it burnout? I don't know. But they can only get better. But Odegaard in the middle of the park pulls the strings for me. I think he's got a lot of responsibility. I think in games, the wide men can get cancelled out a lot. And, you've seen it with Nathan Ake. You're cancelling out Saka. It's not his day. Then you're looking at the man in the middle to pull the strings. He's got to create the space. He's got to drive from midfield, drag that back four out into midfield, take him into deep waters, create the space. We see it with Kevin De Bruyne. We see teams set up with a press. They'll stay on Haaland. They'll stay on Grealish. They'll stay on Mahrez. And they think, right, we're all right here. And Kevin De Bruyne just produces that ball or that run. And they go, well, we can't cope for that. And that's what Odegaard has to do. He has to add that to his game. It's all right early in the season doing that, but you've got to do it where the chips are down. Arsenal don't look like getting a result. Then all of a sudden, Odegaard in the middle pulls something out, and you think that's won us the game.
Moment of magic.
That's what you need, and I think he's got it in him. I think he's a great player. I watched him last season, and I thought, yeah, I like him. I've said it before, the mentality issue at the end of the season cost you. On paper, Arsenal's team's fantastic.
Yeah.
Exciting, it's young, it's great to watch. A little bit of inexperience, in my opinion. Sometimes you win games and you don't win it pretty. That is how we do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's all right smashing teams and thinking, brilliant, Arsenal are killing everyone. It's when it's 1-1 with 85 minutes and you think, shit, and then you just got to get it over the line.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you learned a lot from last season.
That's key as well, because you mentioned on paper, and on paper you can look at every stat in the world. On paper you can look at every fact in the world. But what on paper doesn't account for is what you mentioned earlier, and that's the mental side of things and how you cope during the business end of the season.
Well, it is one for you, yeah. Man United finished second to City under Solskjaer.
Yeah.
They had a transfer window of Ronaldo, Sancho, Varane.
Yeah.
So you finished second and you've signed Ronaldo, Sancho and Varane. So you're thinking the only way is up. Yeah?
It should be, yeah.
They finished seventh for some of the season after that. And that's because you can have the best transfer window in the world and everyone can celebrate it, but you win nothing for a transfer window. You've got to do it on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mikel knows that. I think what he did last season was outstanding. And I just think you're going in the right direction. And Manchester City fans were worried last season about Arsenal, and we've been up against a Liverpool team that was relentless, and we fought them off mad. Yeah. And then last season we had to chase you down, but we had to be quick about it because the gap was getting too big.
Yeah. And
we got there in the end, but I'm looking forward to it. But I think this season's going to be tougher than last season.
It is, yeah.
I think other teams have improved. And my only advice to I've always said it is, don't panic if you don't start like an express train. Because as long as you're on the coattails in the last 10, 12 games, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what all I was saying all season. As long as we're in touching distance with the last 10, I think we catch them. That last 10 is our stretch where we go, right, let's just put it in now.
We know what we have to do.
And that's what we've got to do. If we're too far behind, we can win as many games as you want, but you ain't going to catch them.
Yeah.
But we just got the pressure on, and I'm looking forward to the season, man.
So am I. So you picked that Odegaard. I'm going to pick out someone from City. There's an abundance of options, that's the thing. But I'm going to pick out Haaland because first year, breaks the Premier League record. He's, just turned 23 or he's turning 23. Still a very young man. Still a lot of experience to be gained. And I just think after that first season, it can only get better for him.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean it can only get better that he's going to smash 40, 50 goals next. I assume he'll still get over 30, but doing that consistently in the Premier League hasn't been seen before.
No.
So for me, Haaland's the one to pick out. De Bruyne is in the back of my mind as well, but I'm going to stick with Haaland because he's the key threat. I want to see how our defence copes with him yet again. But I am worried about a few players at City, I can't lie. But I think Haaland is the one.
We spoke about him before, like we played you and you pressed us really well. So City went long down the middle, he dropped deep into his chest, laying it off. A lot of people was like, oh, he just taps in goals and that. It's nonsense. The kid's, like you said, he was 22 last season. He's coming to the Premier League. He's a marked man. Every centre-back, he's up against centre-backs on his own.
Yeah.
They were all trying to get one over him because this robot was coming and going to do this and going to do that. 99% of them couldn't get near him. But towards the end of the season, you've seen him adding little things to his game. He was getting more involved. There was a spell in the season. He wasn't touching the ball for 20-odd minutes.
Yeah, I remember.
He was having 2 shots per game.
Yeah.
Pep was taking him off after 50 minutes. So I've been told this season that he's looking sharp. I've been told he's been learning new things. If you watch the interview when he was talking to Thierry Henry and he said, if you could give me any advice, what would it be? And he said, go on your right, finish on your right. I believe he's been working on that. So, listen, he's had a great season, first season. So he can, if he can only get better, that's frightening.
And at least half of last season was transitional, not just for him, but for Man City in terms of previously playing with a false 9, now going with a target man. And we saw the benefits towards the back end of last season against us. Look how he dragged defenders away.
Yeah.
De Bruyne runs off him, and he became the link-up man in that game. So that's what I mean about it can only get better for him. So that's why I'm picking him out as the key man. And we're about half an hour in, Steve. make sure you hit the like button, people. Prediction time, Sunday. What do you think it's going to...
I've done a couple of streams this week. I think it'll be a tight game. I think City will win it 2-1. Don't want it going penalties and that. Does me head in that.
Yeah.
But, 2-1, I think. And then a good workout, everybody fit, and then ready for Burnley the week after.
I want a competitive game. Not sure how much I can say for sure it will be competitive, but I look at that Jesus injury and it's really knocked me for six in terms of my hopes this season. But on Sunday, I'm going to go 3-1 City. I don't think it'll be a maul-in type of 3-1, but I think you lot will etch away at us and get the job done. Not that it matters much to me, but I do think City will win it. But we are due to talk next week.
Yep.
We'll have a show on my channel once a week, every week from next season. So make sure you subscribe, people, Turkish LDN. Make sure you subscribe to Big Steve's channel as well, Big Steve MCFC. I'm going to put it in the title. But from next week, me and Steve, once a week, every week, we're going to be talking football. We might add in other fans depending on how the title race is forming. If Liverpool are up there again and it's three of us going for it, then we'll add the Liverpool fan in. But for now, we go with what happened last season. That was City and Arsenal at the top. Me and Steve, my channel, once a week, every week. So make sure you're there. Predictions made. Make sure you give your predictions as well. Hit the like button. Steve, last thoughts before we call it a day?
Listen, and enjoy it, people. Football season's back. We're ready to go. I'm in dreamland at the minute. The treble, champions of Europe, finally got there. Can we do it again? I don't know. I'm just looking forward to getting back at it. Every week, home and away. Europe. I'm going to the Super Cup in 2 weeks. We've got Seville in Greece. So never been to a Super Cup.
Yeah.
Love it. Having that. Saudi Arabia World Club Cup December. She doesn't know I'm going yet, but I'm going.
Yeah, it's all sorted.
So it is what it is. I'm living the dream, man. And then no, I'm looking forward to it. And I hope there's a reason this Premier League's the best in the world, and people know that because you just can't call it. You know what I mean? You can't call it. And listen, may the best team win.
And I saw a video recently go viral of yours. Sorry, I was about to wrap it up, but I saw a video of Steve go viral talking about a certain list for United fans now. Now, I've got a list of my own for you, Steve, and that list contains just one thing that you haven't achieved yet.
Is it got gold in it?
It's got gold in it. It's time to go unbeaten. That's the one I've got on my list, Steve. You've done everything else. If you do that, then
well, all I'm saying,
they've cleaned up.
If Pep's watching, sort that out. Sort it out.
He said, sort it out, Steve. Love as always, my guy, man. Thanks for coming down. You know what? Me and Steve might try vlog tomorrow at the Community Shield as well, but obviously Steve's got media duties at Man City and whatnot too. So subscribe to my channel, subscribe to his channel. His channel's in the title. My channel's Turkish LDN. I'm sure you know where that is already. Show some love to both. Show some love to this video. Hit the like button, and in the comment section below, give us your predictions, thoughts heading into the new season. How big is that Jesus injury, and what do we do? Is Nketiah and Trossard enough, or should we add in the next couple of weeks? Love for the love, people. We are out. Peace.